everybody, welcome to class. Today we are going to be going over how to use Adobe Premiere Pro, the video editing software. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is download all of our media. What I did was put it through my DCIM or EOS Digital, however it shows up in your sidebar here. If you are using Google, you are simply going to log into your drive, and what should happen is that you are able to access everything through the sidebar, which you are then going to be able to access when you actually import your media into Premiere Pro. Because I do not have my Google Drive linked in my computer, what I do is download everything from my SD card. How I do this is clicking EOS Digital to the left-hand side, double-click it, and because I used a Nikon, I'm going to use 101 D5-200. This is because I know this is what the model number of my camera is. However, if you were using a Canon, it will say Canon. If it is a Nikon, it will state the Nikon model number as it does right here. So you're going to click on whatever you need to. And if you are recording audio, you are going to click the MISC, that is miscellaneous. So we click 101 D5-200. Here are all of the video files that I have. And then underneath here, you can see I have a separate folder called the Chase. And to select it, I can hit Control A or Command A if you have Mac and drag them over. I have already done this, and I have some other files as well that I'm going to be using in this video, including a recording of me typing on my keyboard to include with my intro, and then also a sound bit that I'm going to use for my outro. To get started, let's open Premiere Pro. The first thing you're going to do is hit New Project. We're going to name the project name The Chase. You're then going to find wherever you have stored your actual media files. And if you have your Google Drive linked, it should be here on the side. However, for me, it is in a folder in my desktop, so I will hit The Chase. Here is all of the video media that I will be required to use for my chase. I'm going to select it all by hitting Control or Command A, and then I'm going to hit Create. You can keep this tutorial tab open. I like to close it because I like having more space. The first thing we're going to do is go Window, Workspaces, and go to Editing. As you may notice, it has changed. If on the right-hand side you do not have a bar called Lumetri Color, you're just going to go Window and click Lumetri Color, and this will all pop up here. So as you can see, it imported all of my media, which I can locate here at the bottom, but it all is here one after another, which is okay, but I like starting from scratch, so we're just going to get rid of all of this. The first thing that I'm going to do is locate the media of me typing, which I named Typing to make my life easy. This bar here at the bottom, if we drag it closer together, the bar becomes bigger. We are magnifying. We are zooming in to what is called our timeline, which is right here. This is our timeline. And to add media, you just simply take it from your project file folder that contains all the media and drag it over like I just did. Audio goes on the bottom, and then video goes on the top. As you may notice, there's also an audio file that is included with this. They're linked together, but we won't get into that right now. I'm just going to delete this from my timeline. We can hit clear. So the first thing I'm going to do is isolate the sound that I'm going to be working with. You can either hit the playback button here, or you can hit your space bar. Perfect. So I know that my sound doesn't start till about right here, where the audio spikes. So I'm going to hit C on my keyboard, or you can click the razor tool here as well. And I'm going to click where this blue marker lines up, because I know that's where the sound starts. Now I'm going to select the audio clip I do not need and delete it from our timeline. After this, I'm going to take my audio and put it here at the beginning. If I wanted to get into more editing techniques, I could go and use, one moment, go Window, Effects. My effects bar is down here. How I like to have it is putting it right next to my effects controls. So I'm going to look for a filter called denoise, and it looks like it's right there. This works for audio only, that's why it's under audio effects. Because if we listen to the clip that I was trying to use, there is some background noise and fuzz. It's faint, but it's still there. So I'm going to add this, and let's take a listen. It sounds a lot clearer, and you don't hear any of that background fuzz. Again, I'm going to hit C on my keyboard and adjust my blue marker because this is the last sound. And I'm just going to cut my clip right here. And again, select it and delete it. What we are then going to do next is look for our media. Where did it go? It is down here under project, and it will stay wherever you decide to alter your project media to. As you can see, you can add it to different sections for your optimal workflow. What I'm going to start with is the clip of me sitting and actually typing in. There's a couple ways you can go about this. You can either just scroll and hope that you got the correct clip, and it looks like it's the first one here, which makes sense because it was the first thing I was filming. But another way is you can just double click it and press play just to make sure it's what you're looking for. Perfect. So I'm going to take this clip because I'm going to do something with it. I'm going to click on it, and like I said earlier, your audio and your video are linked whenever you have a video that has audio connected to it. So you're going to right click on the media clip that you're trying to get rid of the sound for. You'll scroll down to unlink. Now these move independently from one another, and you can delete it if you don't want it in your timeline anymore. So I'm going to go to this part where I start typing. And I'm going to pick a spot that I think works well for me. Perfect. And notice how even though my blue marker is over here, if I link up where my razor tool is with the end of the audio clip, it actually gives you a little helping hand and says, hey, if you click right here, these will be the exact same length. And I am going to do that. Again, I'm going to get rid of the media I do not need. And now we're going to take a look at our final look at our first scene. That actually worked out really well in terms of how the sound synced up with what I was writing. When I was typing this out, when I was filming, I actually was typing out what I wanted to record, which was going to come on screen. So what we are going to do for our intro is add some text. But before that, I want to touch on Luminatory Color. If you are familiar with Photoshop, there are a lot of edits that you can apply. You do not have as much control as you would in Photoshop But Luminate Tree Color does a great job for being able to balance things out if you need a helping hand. A great function they have right here is the auto. So let's click it and see what it looks like. It doesn't honestly look all that much different. It made some very minor adjustments. There is a blue cast on my face, but I am using a computer. If you wanted to change your white balance, your temperature and tint are just right here. But if you don't like what you just did, for example, now this is far too orange and green, you can hit Control Z or Command Z if you have a Mac. Now that we are happy with our tone, saturation, white balance, and I think I'm going to boost the exposure up just a little bit, we have an edited clip that is properly balanced. Incredible. But here's the thing. I want text to appear on the screen that says The Exchange to give an intro to my short film. So let's go back to open our effects controls panel, which we'll dive into in just a moment. I'm going to hit T on my keyboard or click the type tool button here to the side. I'm going to line up. And where's my first clip? Well, to the right, you can see that the audio spikes every time I hit the keyboard. Right there. And for instance, if this was not loud enough or too loud, if you zoom in, just like this bar, how you can change it so you can work with a more magnified version of your timeline or a bigger one, you can do the same with your audio and your video sliders. I like to usually have my video somewhat bigger so I can see the thumbnail, but if I'm dealing with multiple cameras at once that I'm editing between for video, I like to have them a little bit smaller so I can have a better idea of what I am working with. But for now, I'm only going to be working with one camera angle at a time, so I will keep the thumbnail bigger. What we're then going to do, now that we are lined up on our first soundbite increase, and I might even increase the audio. Let's listen. I think that's a little too loud. Let's bring that down a bit. Perfect. Bring it back and we'll go to that first tick. Using your arrows, you can scroll through your timeline in a very small fraction of seconds, which makes things a little easier as well. So again, you'll see the spike to the right, and you can actually hear it as well. So that's going to be our T. I'm just going to put it right here for now. Perfect. I'm going to type a T. So what I'm going to do next is make sure that it was lined up perfect. So if we go into our graphics control box to the top left here, or wherever you have it positioned, you can open up where it says text, and there you can adjust a lot of things with your text. So I'm going to highlight this by hitting Control A. And now I'm going to give this a stroke, so then that way it stands out more against my background. Also, I'm going to make the font bigger, and I'm going to use a different font. That looks pretty good. Let's use Times New Roman. So now that we have linked this up, you'll see that I adjusted the length of my clip. So if I zoom in even more, if you see this red cursor, when you're working with your media, you can actually adjust where it sits in the duration of your timeline. So we can adjust where the T starts And then I'm going to add more text. So it says the exchange and a period. I'm going to go back to my effects. I'm going to clear the previous selection, and we're going to do a video transition to bring this onto the screen. First, I have to make sure that the actual words are also the same length as the video because I'm typing for the entirety of it. So if you're going to be doing a transition, it has to be at the beginning or the end of a clip. So let's go back to our slide and we'll add it to the beginning as such. And let's take a look at what that looks like now. If we wanted this to be changed, you double click it and right here gives you the set duration time. So instead of it being 1 second, let's make it 3 and see what that looks like. Oh, I may have made a mistake. Yep, I did not specify zeros after, so it thinks I'm asking for 0.03 of a second. So let's change that to 1 and then put, 3, and then we'll go 0, 0. Perfect. Let's see how that looks. Amazing. So if we were finished here, but we're not, you would then save. Just a good golden rule to have is continuously save your work after you finish something. So that way, if the program unexpectedly closes, you are prepared and you know what you need to do to fix it. So I also have a copy of my script here. And the bell is going to ring. That's how it starts. I actually didn't originally plan for this intro, but I got creative on the day of filming and I was able to add it in. This took me about 15 minutes to record everything I needed for my Chase short film. And that's why having a script and an idea of what you're doing beforehand really helps, because then you have a set structure, and when inspiration strikes, you can incorporate it and make something even better. So we're going to add a bell ring here. And again, that's another audio and that's another audio that we are going to go for. Again, if you want to listen to your audio, you can just double click it and press play. That was the bell audio that I wanted. So I'm going to add it in here. But again, I do not need this entire clip. So let's just listen. I think right around there is good. Let's clip it, get rid of the media we don't need. And then I'm also going to raise it a little bit, but I'm going to add a fade. So if we go back to our effects controls, our effects, you can just type in fade, and you're looking for an exponential fade. And again, this, because it's a transition, needs to go at the beginning or the end of a clip. You can't put it in the middle. It will not apply it like it just did here. Nothing happened. But if I apply it to the end, fantastic. This again only applies if you are using a transitional edit, where if you are using something like an effect, that can be just generally applied to any part of the audio or the video. Let's see how that sounds now. I don't like how that kind of randomly cuts off where it does. So double click it, and now you can actually edit what you want that to sound like. And I think I'm going to put that at 2 seconds instead. And it even shows you where it starts to dip down. part of me is now also feeling like I don't like this transition at all. So maybe let's just get rid of it. Click this piece, get rid of it, and see how that looks. See, I don't really like that either, so let's bring it back. And then maybe let's keep a little bit of the transition we have here. Click this, and then I'm going to add back the fade again. And let's see how that sounds. Not quite sure if I like that either, but what we can do is actually something else. So if I click and select the audio clip, or you can do this with video, right click, hit speed and duration, and I can actually reverse the speed. So now this clip is in reverse. Let's see how that sounds. Not bad. I like that a little bit more. I'm not going to lie. The fade off sounds a little bit more natural now. And you know what? I'm not even a huge fan of the fade off now. So let's just cut it off there and see how that works. A lot of your time in editing is just trying different things to see what you think works. I think I don't like where that cuts off again, so I'm going to cut it, I think, right here. Let's see how that sounds. Instead, I think I will take back that clip, but I'm going to extend it. And what I'm going to do is extend it just a little bit and lower the volume. So that way, when it pans back to me, hitting send, which I have right here, and I'm going to line that up, it now acts as a background noise, but I can't forget to unlink the audio here. I'm not going to get rid of it yet, and you'll see why. All right, so that's what I needed right there. Click, click, delete the media that we don't need. And now I can select both of these and make sure that it lines up with that other clip. Let's see how that looks together. And I also am going to include a clip I have of my actual email to Mr. Turner. But I'm going to unlink it because I know I don't need the audio. Just like layers in Photoshop, whatever is on top is what's going to show. So if I put my text under the video, it won't show. That's why you have to put it over. Just like in this instance, if I put these directly on top of each other, you'll only see the one video. Another way to look at other layers that you have is just by clicking the eyeball on and off. So now I can see what's underneath. I'm gonna move these over just a little bit. And then I'm going to search through where I actually need the footage. Oh. And I know I don't need this, so I'm just going to get rid of it so it's less to worry about in my timeline. And I'll cut it right there because all I need is that quick action of me typing. Perfect. I'm gonna get rid of this. And now, because this sound is much lower, let's see it together. I still don't really like that. Maybe we'll just get rid of it and keep it gone. Maybe we'll just get rid of it. Keep it that way. So now you can see where they overlap. I'm a little when I edit, I like everything to be neat and orderly, so I know I don't need anything under that layer. I just get rid of it because it's extra video footage that just ends up needing time to be processed when you go to export. And I'm just going to keep that right there. That's all I need. I'm going to also just auto edit this really quickly. And this as well. So let's see what we have so far. And it sounds like, yes, the audio, because it was unlinked, still kept after here. Delete that, get rid of that. And I'm going to move these together. And I think I'm going to add back that fade and see if I end up liking it or not again. Take a final look through what we have. There we go. I'm also going to add denoise again to that one clip because I wanted to keep the click that happened when I sent off the email. And that'll probably sound a little cleaner. You can just go here. Amazing. So in theory, if we were all finished at this point, we would then save, and then we're going to export. So I'm going to call this beginning to signal to me that it's the beginning process. Double click location, and now you can save wherever you need to. Hit save and export. Your file should now be saving to wherever you have set the destination. And then after, you should be given an MP4, which, let's go back. Export, your setting should be H.2S4. Again, I'm going to name this draft, as this is not finished yet, but I wanted to have an exported version to show you how it works. There are different features you can look through in here. I wouldn't play around with them too many. I wouldn't play around with it too much. I'm just going to hit export now. And now it gives you an estimated time. And the most important thing is once you have finished your video, to open it and actually watch it to see if there are any things you did not catch, to see if it maybe didn't render properly and you have some kind of weird glitch. 9 times out of 10, if you just resave and re-export the project you have, it will go through the second time. And I say that speaking out of personal experience. Let's go to my desktop, the Chase draft version. Fabulous. So This is a brief view on how to use all of your editing tools. I hope it helped, and at the end,